Justice is the crown. They wrote it down in ink, so no one could tear it down. They said no cruel chains, no punishment too steep. For the heart of this nation is in the promises we keep. No cruel or unusual, that's the way it's gotta be. In this land of the brave, where we all can live free. No torture in the night, no pain without a fight. The Eighth Amendment stands for what's fair and what's right. They knew the power that the law could hold, and with a steady hand they shaped the world bold. No excess in bail, no burden too great. They built a foundation on justice, not on hate. No cruel or unusual, that's the way it's gotta be. In this land of the brave, where we all can live free. No torture in the night, no pain without a fight. The Eighth Amendment stands for what's fair and what's right. For what's fair and what's right. They walk this path together with the Constitution in our hands, a beacon through the storm for every woman and man. It's a promise that we hold in our hearts, so pure and true, that no one shall be broken by the state's iron view. No cruel or unusual, that's the way it's gotta be. In this land of the brave, where we all can live free. No torture in the night, no pain without a fight. The Eighth Amendment stands for what's fair and what's right. So let the justice shine in every court and hall. With the Eighth Amendment's light, we'll stand proud and tall. No cruel chains to bind, no shadows in the night. In the land of the free, we'll uphold what is right.
Hey y'all, Morning Label Discussions. It's Morning Label Nina. Yesterday I put out a video. It was titled No Insanity Plea. And of course we all know that Idaho doesn't have the insanity plea, so there was no way for Kohberger to plead insanity. But what every state does have from the Supreme Court is the Eighth Amendment, which is no cruel and unusual punishment. So I was thinking about it, and I know that right now everybody's like, it's falling apart, prosecution's losing, you know, everything's bad. And I don't see it that way. And I'm always the one that doesn't see things the way that everybody else does. But I think that Ann Taylor is actually concentrating on the mitigation part of this. And I do know that Mr. Gonzalez died, I think in July of this year, R.I.P. Prayers for his family. But he was her mitigation expert. So I started doing some research because, you know, I really didn't understand the mitigation and stuff like that, why they were doing it right now, why they were discussing it. I mean, the trial hadn't even started. So the mitigation is actually the only way that you could possibly save Kohberger's life if he is found guilty. And I think that she is concentrating a lot on that aspect of it because y'all know that I lost my son to addiction, and one thing that we always say is you have to be alive to recover. Well, in this case, you have to be alive to be exonerated. So I think that her focus, I mean, she's focused on everything, but being the top lawyer she is, I'm sure that she looks at, okay, she's probably 4 steps ahead, you know. So with the mitigation, what they do is they go through your past, they talk to people that's known you, your family, your teachers, your employers, everybody like that, you know, and they go through your psychiatric, your, you know, everything like that. And so yesterday I put out a little 5-minute video talking about the mental illnesses that would protect you from the um, death penalty. Now, let me make it clear. There is not a firm Supreme Court ruling that goes against the death penalty for mental illness completely. It can go to the Supreme Court and they can rule on it. But it is up to each court to make that decision. One case, me and Eileen Warnos, yeah. And so, you know, her child, her mitigating circumstances were her childhood. You know, she was sexually abused. She was physically abused. Her mother and daddy both abandoned her when she was an infant. Her father committed suicide when he was in prison for child molestation. The grandfather committed suicide. Her mother died of an alcoholic. And when the grandmother died, when she was 15, the grandfather put her out on the streets. So she had a pretty effed up childhood. And so when she was found guilty, the mitigating circumstances came in. And I think the jury found one mitigating circumstance, which was her borderline personality disorder. But the judge found 5 mitigating circumstances. And I know that, let's see, I've got them written down. And it says that he found that she had antisocial disorder, borderline personality disorder. He took into consideration that her father and her grandfather had both committed suicide. He took into consideration the grandmother dying of alcoholism. And then, of course, the mother abandoning her. So the jury, they voted 12-0 for the death penalty. But this is where it comes in that the judge had the final say. So even though he found 5 mitigating circumstances himself, he went with the jury recommendation and, of course, sentenced her to death. So just because the mitigating circumstances may look overwhelming and they're presented very well from the defense and everything, the judge and the jury of, you know, each trial, they have that decision to make. It is not just blanketed, protected by the Supreme Court. You know, it's not abolished. It's not, you know, it's just they have precedents set for cases that they have gone against. So I wanted to bring that up just because that is one to where there were mitigating circumstances, but the judge chose to go with what the jury wanted. So, and what the video was about yesterday was how I thought that what she would use as far as the mitigating circumstances in the Kohberger case. And we know that he suffered from visual snow. And when you look up the visual snow, you know, it's not just it's not just an eye problem. I mean, it's like the wiring is all messed up, you know. And it can cause insomnia, depression, irritability, aggression. There's one word that's a really weird word, but it means numbness and no feeling. It is, let me get the word, anhedona. It's Anhedona, and it says lack of feeling and numbness. I don't know why they can't just say that, but anyway, let's see. It says depression, anxiety, anhedona, depersonalization, derealization, dissociation, brain fog. Let's see, I said depersonalization, headache, fatigue, tremors, dizziness. So if you take all of that into consideration with the visual snow, then we also know that he went to Brandywine Hospital for an eating disorder and for addiction. So I was going through his TAPA talk and everything, and I found just like 2 sentences from him. And it said that he was being treated for hypothyroidism. So I looked up hypothyroidism. And hypothyroidism, it says that it can connect you to schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, cognitive impairment, and psychosis. And so I thought, well, with the visual snow and everything, with all those symptoms, then the eating disorder, the addiction, and then, the hypothyroidism, that may be the direction that she goes to spare his life. I am not saying if he's innocent. I'm not saying if he's guilty. My video was strictly about the mitigation and what I thought she would use in order to save his life so he could go through the, motions of being alive to exonerate himself if he can be exonerated. And I also included in there some stuff that, that people had accused him of doing, and reports and stuff like that, and things that he had said himself. So, I mean, if you haven't seen the video, it's 5 minutes. It's a really interesting video. And the thing about it is, if he's found guilty, the only alternative would be the mitigating circumstances to save his life. And me being a mother that has lost her son, I'll be honest with you, use any mitigating circumstance you can use if it means I can talk to my son until he's another 50 years. Now I know it could take 10 to 20 before he gets put to death, but still, at least I know my son's not on death row and I don't have a date for his death. And that's just keeping it real. That's keeping it personal. That's keeping it human. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks about guilty or not guilty or anything. The defense attorney, her main purpose, to me, in my opinion, is to save his life. To me, if you can take a capital punishment case and you can get a guilty plea out of it with life in prison, to me, that's a win. I mean, and I know, don't get me wrong, if you can get an innocent, hey, that's great. But just to get the death penalty took off the table in a no insanity plea state, and it's already been ruled that the death penalty stays on the table, to spare his life, to me, would be a huge deal. And I think that is a direction that's going to be a major player in this. And, the thing about it is, justice is only justice if we have the right defendant. And I'll tell anybody that. If we have the wrong defendant, those 4 victims, they don't have justice. They don't have anything. Those families, there is no justice for those families. There's no closure for those families. You may get a little bit of, instant gratification when the verdict comes in, or you may not. I mean, it's according to how it goes. But I had a comment from a friend of mine, Tanka. Thank you, Tanka. And wanted to know the other side of the POV, the point of view from the other side. And I've sat and I've thought about that question a lot. And to me, the other side is he dies. I didn't put these two videos out with an opinion of guilt or an opinion of innocence. I put it out as a way to say, this is how you could save his life. I mean, not for me to advise them, but, this is what I think could be used to save his life. So, as far as an alternative POV, the alternative is he dies. Because if the mitigating circumstances are not strong enough and they're not powerful enough, if he gets found guilty, he will get the death penalty. And so to me, as far as another opinion, because if you'll read the comments in the video, as a matter of fact, I think I have it exactly because I want to respect the comment. Yeah, it says the point of view from both sides. And so to me, this point of view, if you had to separate them into guilty or not guilty, or defense and state or prosecution, to me this would be a defense argument because it keeps him alive, where the prosecution argument would be he dies. Now, one of the things, and if anybody knows, I would love to know, because I haven't been able to find it, is I know that the mitigating expert gets to, testify to their findings and everything that, they found as far as Kohberger is concerned. But my question is, does the state get to go against that? Do they get to say anything? Do they get to have an opinion? Or is it strictly just the defense fighting for his life? So I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know if the state had any kind of rights or anything, to, I don't want to say go against it, but yeah, I guess it is go against it, So if anybody does know, can you put that in the comments? I mean, because I don't know. I don't know if the prosecution gets to have a say. So this is a short one, and I'm going to be putting out more content. So anyway, it's warning label discussions, and just something to think about. I mean, the mitigation is it's a big part, because like I said, coming from a mother, save his life. So warning label Nina. Thank you.